All right, I'm back with another pick'em video. Going to be talking NBA, going to be talking MLB in this one, later slate of games, so you guys got plenty of time for that. But if you don't know where I've been, I haven't posted in a few days now, and it's just because I had a wedding to go to down in Florida. And Florida is kind of a dead zone in terms of sports betting, in terms of DFS specifically. There's no prize picks, there's no underdog, there's no sleeper, there's none of the big players down in Florida. So I took it as a little bit of a time to have some vacation time. Obviously, was super busy with the wedding, so can't really do much with that anyway. But I also ended up extending my stay. So I was supposed to go back last night. Ended up going to be staying till Saturday night. So I'll be back home doing normal stuff, on Sunday. But until then, I'm going to be doing daily videos until I, get to that flight, and then we're back on a normal schedule. So I won't have as much time as I typically do, but definitely going to dedicate, hours, a few hours a day here over the next few days to, the platform here, and ripping out some content on YouTube, but also giving my Discord some plays that I really like. So I'm really liking the board today. Really got 4 plays that I'm liking. We're going to talk correlated slip for the MLB, and then 2 NBA plays. Quickly, I want to show you the NBA slate of games today. Remember, there's only about 3 games left for most of these teams. So you really want to be careful with what teams are playing for something, what teams are playing for nothing. Our team's going to play loose, or is there going to be a defensive battle? Is one team really playing for something and the other team's not? That's kind of the things you want to be looking at here. So kind of that first thing. Cleveland playing for playoff positioning, while Memphis is extremely injured and they want nothing more to be on until next season. So this is a game I'm probably staying away from. Cleveland should go out and beat these guys up. 18.5-point spread. It's hard to bet an over on someone like Donovan Mitchell, because yeah, he probably will have a good game, but if he's not playing that fourth quarter, that's tough to get that points or PRA, whatever you want to go to, if he's missing out on a full fourth quarter, even if they're up big like that. Charlotte and Atlanta, both teams really aren't playing for something, so kind of playing free. I kind of like the idea of maybe DeJounte, maybe DeAndre Hunter, one of these guys. Looks like Trae Young's a game time decision here. But some of these guys playing, kind of freely. I don't think Atlanta's in this playoff. I do have it pulled up here. They're kind of right on the cusp. Yeah, I guess they're the 10 seed. So they actually will probably get Trae, rolling. They're not going to move up to that 8 seed, which would be 2 chances in the plan. But they're in that 10 seed. But this is the stuff you should be looking at. I guess I will run through each of these teams. But Atlanta playing for something. Charlotte really not playing for anything. Bunch of injuries like they have been. No LaMelo, no Mark Williams. So Atlanta may be a team to look at today, especially if they want to get in a rhythm before that play-in tournament. Dallas and Miami, both teams playing for something. I think Tyler Hero probably will play if I had to guess here. Looks like he's a game time decision, but Dallas mostly injury free. Derek Lively is still out. He's been out for a few games, but both teams playing for something. Toronto and Brooklyn, both these teams are definitely not playing for anything, so they're going to be playing free. Toronto, one of the worst defenses in the league here. And I think RJ, Kelly, these guys don't have injury tags just yet, but I would not be surprised at all if one of these guys sits, both these guys sits. If Toronto sits a bunch of guys, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But on the Brooklyn side of things, that just goes and, gives a boost to someone like Mikal Bridges, someone like really anyone on this team to kind of come out, play freely. Hopefully it stays relatively close and they can, pick apart this Toronto defense and have some fun with it. Orlando and Milwaukee, 215.5-point spread. Both teams playing for battling for East playoff positioning. So this is a big game. You see the records are very similar. And then Giannis is out here. So I'd love to go to Damian Lillard. We're not going to play him in this video, but I actually did play him at 26.5 points. You can get that on Chalkboard right now at the very least, maybe even Sleeper. But it is up to 27.5 on PrizePicks. Then we got the Spurs and OKC. No playing for nothing. Would not be surprised at all if Wemby goes out and sits this game. Whereas OKC is battling for some playoff positioning. So again, kind of a lopsided one here. You see that in the spread, 16 points. Again, it's just tough to go to someone's over on OKC just because they might not play that fourth quarter if they go out and handle business early. So tough game there. Minnesota and Denver, going to be defensive battle here. 213.0 is the spread here. Going to be kind of a playoff atmosphere. Both these teams are 55 and 24. Both these teams are going for that number 1 seed in the West here. So if I had to go to one guy, to choose one guy, I go to Jokic. I go to the MVP. He continues to improve in the playoffs each and every year. We've seen that obviously coming off the championship, but he would be the guy to go to, and he's been cooking lately in terms of scoring, in terms of really everything. So this is definitely a fun game to watch and a fun game to probably bet on here as well. I think there's going to be some value specifically in Jokic. And then we got Phoenix and LA. Phoenix, I think, is on the cusp of that play-in. Maybe they are in the play-in. Maybe, yeah, I think they're really close to jumping the Pelicans here. So again, kind of like a playoff atmosphere. The Clippers are in the West. They're definitely in the playoffs. They're not going to be worried about that play-in, but they might want to be worried about the playoff positioning. So you want to get a word on Kawhi. You want to get word on James Harden before really doing anything on this one. But it could be a Booker game. It could be a Durant game. That wouldn't be surprise me at all. But yeah, those are all the games. Didn't expect to run through all of them, but I think it's important, especially this time of year, to have all that knowledge and know, what teams to go to and maybe what teams to stay away from. All right, so now that we know who's playing for something, who's playing for nothing, all those different things, let's go into our first play, and it's going to be Jokic. Again, playoff atmosphere, going up against Minnesota, battle of the 1 seed down the stretch of the NBA season. He's going to be our first play, over 27.5 points. Now, if you're new around here, I do like to use a deep dive of each individual play, talk about it for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and kind of really understand it. But my internet scenario is not going to let me do, a 25-minute video and be able to upload it in a timely manner. So I'm going to expedite it a little bit, but all my research was still there. It's all the same. I might just speed up the my process of explaining how I like this play. But Jokic over 27.5 points. Going to start off on Outlier. Free week. If you want to check out this tool, in the link in the description. Really, any of these tools I'm using, you can get a free or discount of some sort in the link in the description. It just helps me out by letting you know that I sent them there. But yeah, here we got Jokic. I got his 27.5 points. This is 2023 as a whole. 47% of the time he's gone over this line. But again, kind of playoff mode Jokic. We can see that in the last 10 games, going over in 7 of the last 10 games. Now we talk about the matchup here. Not only is it kind of a playoff atmosphere, but he's also going up against a team that he's played really well against, specifically when Karl-Anthony Towns is out of the lineup here. So we see Towns is kind of trending towards a game time decision, but I don't think he's going to play. From everything I could see, he's not planning to play Wednesday. And that's huge for me because the last 2 matchup these guys have played without Towns in this lineup, Jokic has been able to do really whatever he wants, 35 and 32 in those 2 matchups. And he's gone over in 4 of the last 5 matchups against these guys. Again, a lot of these games in the playoffs. And kind of, again, Jokic is leveling up his game as he gets ready for that playoffs. And again, battle of the 1 seeds, like I mentioned. He literally specifically said, we want to go out and get the 1 seed. And Jokic doesn't usually show passion like that, but it does seem to be something that they really want to do. So right here, Minnesota has the tiebreaker over them right now. They have identical records. This win would be huge for either team, but if Jokic puts his mind to something, he should put the team on his back, and I assume him to score 28 or more points today. So that's going to be the first play. Going quickly into the odds. This is OddsJam Sportsbook screen. Again, links in the description to check out all of these. You can get a free week of OddsJam as well. We see the line is at 27.8. That's like a general consensus across all sports books. This again is showing us so much data, but we're getting at 27.5. Everywhere else has it around 27.5, 28.5. You see different books here, which is where we get the average odds of 27.8. And it's still around a 50-50 going over or under at 27.8. So at 27.5, they are expecting this to go over. And we can see that over on DG Fantasy. This is a fantasy optimizer. Again, link in the description if you want to check this out. And we see that, at 27.5, they're giving it a 52.15% chance to hit. So we see, why is that? All these other sports books, like we saw on the sportsbook screen for OddsJam, some of them are at 28. And if you're at 27.5, a lot of these books are favored to go over here. So the matchup I really like, playoff atmosphere I'd like for Jokic to thrive in. And the odds are liking this one as well. So he's going to be our first play of the day. All right, so the next guy I want to talk about is going to be Miles Bridges here. And I've got his 2.5 first quarter rebounds on the under. It's an interesting line. It's not something that a lot of people are going to go to. But I also think the stats for this just aren't as accessible to a whole lot of people. So I like this. The odds, the market value we're getting on this is really, really good. And he hasn't been hitting it recently, and especially in this matchup against Atlanta. So first, let's go to his outlier page here. We can see 2.5 first quarter rebounds is what we're on. We see he's hit it about 54% of the time. But if we look at the last 10 games, a nice 80% hit rate on the under here. Now he's also going up against the Atlanta Hawks. They don't give up a ton of they do give up a decent amount of rebounds, but to that small forward position, they are a pretty strong opponent here. They're actually 3rd ranked in giving the least amount of rebounds to that position. And it goes pretty hand in hand with what we've seen so far this year from Miles Bridges against them. He's only had 1 rebound in the first quarter in both the matchups here. And again, he needs 3 to burn us, not 2. He needs a full 3 to get to burn us there. So hit rate is looking pretty solid. the matchup is not the worst case in the world, especially if you want to, put him into that small forward spot. Ranked third is not is pretty good here, so liking him, and it's really just the odds here. That's the reason I went to this. Some of these, different types of plays that don't have a lot of data behind them. These aren't going to pop up on normal fantasy optimizers that a lot of people have access to now. But it's a sportsbook screen on OddsJam. It's one of the best tools out there. It's definitely one of the more expensive tools, but you do get edges like this. And we can see the average odds here for this line is minus 137 on the under. So that's just not something you see on PrizePicks very often. And when you do see something like that, and it's lining up for a nice 80% hit rate the last 10, 100% hit rate in the matchup, that's something you definitely got to bounce on. So, this line might, I don't even know where it is. This line might end up getting pulled from the board eventually, but if it doesn't, I think this is a really nice hidden gem here for the day. Minus 137 average odds. You can see minus 140 on DraftKings, all these different types of things, minus 150 on whatever this sports book is. So you see, you get all these different access to data, and again, just kind of a hidden gem today, minus 140 play. That no one else is really going to see. So Miles Bridges under 2.5 first quarter rebounds. That's going to be our second NBA play of the day. All right, so now moving into our MLB plays, and I got two for us, and they happen to be a correlated combo, which I know you guys love and I love to go to whenever they're available. So I don't do it in every video, but when it does line up well, I do like to attack it. So if you don't know what correlation play is in DFS and things like that, the best way I can explain it is for NFL and like quarterbacks and receivers. If I take a quarterback to go over his passing yards, it would make sense to also go to his number one receiver and go over his receiving yards. Because if this quarterback's getting all of his passing yards and going over his line, it makes sense that this, his number one receiver goes over his line as well. So that's kind of correlation. And it does happen in baseball as well. So hits, runs, and RBIs, hitter fantasy scores. If a guy is on base and another guy hits him in, that's an RBI for the batter. It's a run for the guy on base. And that correlates well for them both going over their fantasy scores when that lines up. And then one of my favorite types of plays I've been doing this year, kind of like when Dunks lines first came out on PrizePicks, is first inning runs allowed. So Nerfies and Yerfies. So no runs first inning would be a Nerfie. Yes runs first inning would be a Yerfie. All right, so of course, while I was talking about that, they went ahead and took my Nerfie away. They do have Jimenez still up. I want to preface and say, I don't think I'd take Jimenez by himself or even just without that Nerfie, just because I like the correlation and that combo with, if there's no runs in the first inning and Jimenez bats second, that takes away one of his opportunities to get a run. So again, I like that combo. I don't love the Jimenez play by itself, but it is something you could still look at. But we're going to look over it. Let's go to the sportsbook screen real quick. This is going to show us all the first inning total runs for all the games today. And this is where I start a lot of my MLB days. I like to see the Yerfie, the Nerfie odds that are popping up. Because again, I think we just get a decent edge on some of these. And we can see that with, in the Discord, we've had this Nerfie play in for an hour or maybe more than an hour. And they just went ahead and took it away from us. So we can see the games that have PrizePicks up. It was on PrizePicks because I just had it pulled up a second ago. But we see right here, this is that Cleveland versus White Sox game. We see minus 132.6 odds for the under. This is bounced around from like minus 129 to minus 134. So it's definitely bouncing around. This is all different data from all these different sports books. I could scroll for a while, but my crappy old laptop would probably break. So we can just see that's how I attack these. As you can see, minus 124 here. That's solid. Minus 123.6 in the Seattle-Toronto game. But yeah, just had the best odds, and I like to correlate that with another, good odds play on the under, and that just happened to be Jimenez. So I do have Jimenez's page pulled up right here. I'll pull up the odds as well. But first, let's just go over the hit rate here. We can see for the season, 511 games, he's gone on the under. Again, I'm thinking about this play specifically in correlating or in like a combination with the Nerfie. I could definitely get behind also going to Jimenez's under, seeing as he started the year off hot and has gotten a little bit colder in terms of getting runs. Maybe the bats haven't been as hot. And in baseball, sometimes you're really hot, sometimes you're cold. And it does seem to see, in terms of a cold stretch, he hasn't been getting as many runs recently. So the correlation was there. I was fine going to that, especially knowing that the odds were on the under as well for this Jimenez play. But if I was going to this one individually, I don't love it as much. Again, 511 is not like it's a crazy hit rate. The matchup I don't absolutely love, and seeing as most of the Guardians players hit better against righties, albeit Jimenez does hit a little bit worse at 243 against righties, whereas his normal batting average is 251. So that is a positive one in this one. And then specifically to this pitcher, there's not a whole lot to work off of. Jimenez is 1 for 3 against this guy with a hit, whereas Hedges and Naylor, again, 5 total at bats for these guys, but they don't have any batting average against them. So 0 for against these other guys. So again, not a whole lot to look at in terms of the specific pitcher. To righties, this team does hit pretty well, with an exception of Jimenez, who takes a tiny bit of a hit in terms of his batting average. So again, I want to stress this again. If that Nerfy comes back into play, I think this combo is very, very, very solid, enough for me to even give it as a video pick. But if that Nerfy doesn't come back up, maybe kind of just fade this Jimenez play altogether. But we can see the odds right here. They are still favored on the under, minus 121.5 on the under in terms of average odds across all sports books, whereas the over is around a minus 113.8. Again, this was up to minus 126 at one point, kind of trending in the direction of more of a 50-50 line, which is again why I would say maybe don't go to it if you're just going to Jimenez specifically. But yeah, I still like the combo for sure. We had it in on the Discord, an hour or so ago. Just kind of another perk to be there. But that's going to be our third and fourth plays to kind of complete the video picks here. All right, so that's going to do it for today's video. Again, we talked about Jokic, his points, kind of playoff mode. Miles Bridges, really good odds on that 2.5 first quarter rebounds. Jimenez, we're on the under for the runs. But again, I really only like this play if you can combo it with the Nerfy in this game as well. It was on PrizePicks before, did get taken off as we were looking at this video, but something that could potentially come back onto the board, so just keep an eye on that. But that's going to do it for today's video. Again, shout out to the Discord. Even when I'm not as active, everyone is always talking about plays, whether it's soccer, MLB, NBA, all these different types of things. It's a great community if you want to join it. The link is in the description. You can actually get in here for free if you want to use any of my codes or links. They're all going to be right here. I'm not going to talk too much about them because I want to get this video out to you guys. But PrizePicks, Underdog, Chalkboard, Sleeper, Dabble, DG Fantasy, they will all apply for a free month of the Discord. If you want to use all of them, you can get 6 months free. But again, if you don't want to do that, it's $20 a month, which is not too much in the grand scheme of things. And again, you're just getting access to a bunch of like-minded people that are always down to talk sports, talk props, and different types of things. So apologize for some of the picks getting taken off with that Nerfy getting off. Usually I have a backup plan ready to go if that does happen. But lines are always moving. There's nothing I can do too much about that. And again, I'm back. I'm doing videos again. I'm not gonna put 12 hours like I typically do into the day, but definitely got a few hours to make some good plays for you guys. So that's gonna do it. Leave the video a like, comment anything down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next video.